Hi, it's Vladimir. Today is 30th day of my commitment. I talk to the camera every day for 15 minutes, working on my pronunciation, developing my language, learning to speak with perfect grammar, avoiding fillers, and training my nonverbal communication. Basically, learning how to control my body while I'm speaking, learning how to be comfortable with my arms, with my body position. Now, I want to talk about my routine and about my actions. I want to start at least from my routine because I don't have anything to say, anything special which I would like to discuss here in this episode. Yesterday I had a speaking club where we discussed perfectionism. I didn't think it was a fluent discussion. I didn't like it particularly because I couldn't express those thoughts which I was preparing for the discussion. When I came there, I thought that it's going to be interesting to talk about different models of perfectionism, about different people who are great perfectionists and they achieved something in their lives, and also about people who are great perfectionists but they didn't achieve anything. So what makes a perfectionist really great and what makes him a depressed suicidal person? Well, I had interesting thoughts about language, interesting ideas related to language and perfectionism, and I think this is what I'm doing here. So I'm trying to make my language perfect. It's not there's two types of perfectionism, like striving and concerns. Striving means that you really do something, trying to be perfect. And concerns means that you basically think that you must be perfect in something. In terms of language, for example, I may think that I must be perfect in my grammar. I must pronounce words like an American or like British person. And it may bother me, but I still don't do anything to improve my language. So it's basically concerns. And striving means that you really want to be perfect, but you do lots of actions to develop your skill to make it better. And eventually striving gives you certain results, whereas concerns makes you miserable, since you think that it should be in a certain way, but you do nothing to really make it in a certain way. Yeah, okay, I had lots of, expectations. I think I'm a perfectionist to some degree, and I learned it from my childhood. When I was a child, and I'm not using the word childhood kind of, it wasn't actually childhood. It was when I was a teenager, I was playing video games. And I remember when I played certain games, like StarCraft, for example, I learned to be perfect at this game. So I didn't like to play. There were many different games which I could play, and most people play different games. They came there and played maybe 5, 10, 15 different games all the time. And I preferred to play just one game but make it perfect, so learn to play it better than everybody else. And I learned to play StarCraft, Warcraft, Dota later, better than everybody who was in my social circle, in my environment. And I did that by playing more and more and more and more. And also watching videos with best players playing between themselves. So I watched champions of StarCraft and I learned to play like them. And this is, I don't think that I knew the term perfectionism at that time, but it was in my memory. I remember it clearly that I was thinking a lot about every move in the game. Every second, not even a second, but millisecond was important for me at the game. And I learned how to control all these units in the game so fast that you don't lose any second in the game. And then later, when I started writing, when I started studying philosophy and literature, I remember it also bothered me from the very beginning. I wanted to write clearly, and I wanted to express my thoughts, not just to express them, but make it like shining. Especially when I started writing poetry in Russian, I wasn't satisfied with my poetry ever. So whenever I wrote something, after a couple of months or maybe after half a year, after a year, I read it and I thought I can do better. I can do better. It's not my limit. I can improve it. I can work on it and next time it's going to be better. And this helped me a lot, and I learned to like many skills which I developed in Russian. For example, poetry. I developed it way beyond average. The same with writing. So I've been writing for many years, like 10 years, more than 10. Well, in Russian I started writing in 2008 and was writing till 2011. For 3 years it was just notes, casual notes, once a month, once in a couple of weeks. But since 2011 I decided to practice writing every day, and I was doing it for 6 years till I shifted to English. So since 2011 to 2017 I was writing in Russian every day, all except some short periods where I was in a different situations where I couldn't write. I mean, when I had some problems which I couldn't solve, but mostly it was like 5 years of uninterrupted writing, more than 1,000 knots. Yeah, I was, I think, yeah, it was a perfectionism. And I really like the process. So for me, the goal wasn't to become the best writer. The goal was just to write poetry, to write daily notes in my journal, and to get better at it, to learn something which can help me to improve my writing. And I used to evaluate my writing by myself. So I was reading a lot. I read hundreds of different philosophical books and classical literature, and I was able to evaluate it just by comparing my writing with writings of these classical authors. And eventually I was able to get to the point where I was writing almost like them. And then I started studying English and started comparing my English with classical authors. And now it's 3 years and it's still like I'm a pretty low level. I don't know how to get to the next level, I know that I need a lot of practice. So my solution to all sorts of, just in general, to all sorts of problems in life, especially when it comes to developing certain skills, just practice, practice, practice. Finding the best way of practicing and doing it again, again, again. But it's not just only practice; it's also theory. And theory, by theory, I mean theory. By theory, I mean you just go, just if you write something like books, let's say you write philosophy, you don't just write philosophy from your head. You go and study other original works written by other philosophers, well-known, best philosophers, and then you compare. So yourself with the best people, best people. Then you learn how to get better, and at certain moment you may develop your skill to the level when you can say, look, now it's almost perfect. At least the form, not the content, but the form is close to the form of people whom I admire after just reading all. It's like after learning what they did and reading how they did that. So now I can admire it. Now my style is the same. Now I can write about whatever I like. And this is when you can, like, I lost my thought. This is a solution to any problem in terms of developing certain skills. What's time? 12 minutes. So when I work on something, and it's kind of perfectionism. So, but it's not concerns. It's not perfectionism when there are concerns and you are afraid that you are doing something wrong and you are not satisfied with the result. Don't think too much about result. I think about the process. I like to enjoy the process, but sometimes, of course, it makes me feel anxious. Not all the time, but sometimes there are certain moments when I can say I'm doing it for so many months and it's still almost the same as it was like half a year ago. What's going on? How can I improve it? What am I doing wrong? But if you do something, when I really do something, when I speak to the camera, now it's like the 30th day of my commitment. I'm talking to the camera every day. Here's my purpose. I'm trying to improve my grammar. I'm trying to improve my pronunciation. Maybe it's not so important here, but grammar, avoiding fillers, being consistent, learning how to develop certain thoughts, learning how to talk more about one particular problem or whatever, and developing this. I'm doing all of this here, and I see the difference between how it was when I started and what is right now. I see certain improvements, and I can't say that it haven't led me anywhere. So I do better. I know that in next 70 days I'll maintain this exercise and probably I'll improve even more. Maybe it's not so noticeable in different settings. For example, when I speak with people at the speaking club, there may be the same, I may use the same patterns which I used before at these settings, and there it doesn't mean that if I may get better here, I'm gonna be better there. But still, this is going to affect the way how I speak at the speaking club. But again, it's just I want to pay attention to this very important thought. It's just 15 minutes exercise. 15-minute exercise. It's nothing more. It's not all my life. It's just 15 minutes. I do it for 15 minutes a day, and I see that this exercise affects the whole life. But it's still just 15 minutes. It's not just I'm thinking all the time about improving my language and improving my pronunciation. I understand that it may lead to really certain psychological problems when I speak for 15 minutes and I expect great results and I don't see these results and I'm walking there and I'm miserable because I can't achieve what I want to achieve. No, just 15 minutes. I do lots of other exercises, physical exercises, reading, writing, whatever, which are oriented for different purposes. And I may find fulfillment there in these exercises. And if I don't have progress here, I can always check it later and say, okay, it wasn't such beneficial. Let's do something else. But now it seems that this exercise really helps me. So it helps me to be better at my language, and I'm going to continue doing it later. So now it's 15 minutes. I need to finish this exercise. See you. Bye-bye.